Welcome back to The Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed. We're really delighted to have you join us again on Baha'i Reflections.
It's great to be back.
We're continuing our unique exploration into the Ruhi Institute's study materials. This is the second part of our new Deep Dive series, focusing on Book 2, A Rising to Serve.
That's right.
And today, we're plunging right into the heart of Section 2 of 3. It's a really insightful segment titled Uplifting Conversations.
It really is a crucial part of the book.
And just a reminder, if you haven't yet listened to Part 1, which covered the joy of teaching, well, we highly recommend you go back and catch up.
Yeah, it definitely helps. Each part sort of builds upon the last one.
Exactly. You'll find the foundations we laid in that first segment really enhance your understanding of what we're about to explore today. Okay, so let's unpack this. In this deep dive, our mission really is to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight from Ruhi Book 2, specifically this Uplifting Conversations unit. We're looking to uncover those, aha moments that make these sometimes complex spiritual ideas feel accessible and genuinely actionable in your daily life.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is how this unit is designed. It's meant to equip us with a really profound ability, how to naturally and meaningfully introduce spiritual principles into our everyday discussions.
Right, not just knowing them, but sharing them.
Exactly. It's not just about accumulating knowledge in your head. It's about elevating the level of conversation you have with your friends, your family, even new acquaintances.
Yeah.
Allowing spiritual concepts to become a living, relevant part of your dialogue.
That's such a crucial point.
Yeah.
And the source material, it provides a brilliant, really practical approach to this. It gives us statements. These aren't direct quotations, but they're deeply rooted in the talks and tablets of Abdu'l-Bahá. You can feel his phrasing in them.
Yes, you can.
And then it guides us to engage with these statements, through repeated reading, identifying the logical sequence of the ideas, and actually practicing saying them aloud until they feel completely natural.
That practice part is key.
Right. The aim is for you, the listener, to be able to articulate these spiritual ideas with ease and wisdom, allowing them to truly resonate when you're sharing them with others. Hashtag, delving into uplifting conversations. So the source reminds us first that in the initial unit of this book, we talked quite a bit about the immeasurable joy that comes from sharing the Word of God.
That fundamental joy, yes.
And this joy, as we discussed, is really fundamental to walking the path of service. It's like that internal wellspring that keeps you motivated and connected to a higher purpose.
And building right on that profound sense of joy, this unit, and actually the next one too, they're dedicated to developing these essential capabilities for having truly meaningful conversations. Here, in this section, the focus is squarely on how to elevate discussions by referring to spiritual principles, but only, when the occasion calls for it.
Right, not forcing it.
Not at all. It's about cultivating the discernment, the wisdom, to find those natural openings in a conversation where a spiritual perspective might offer new light or perhaps a deeper understanding.
What I find particularly insightful about the methodology here is how active it is. These statements, based on Abdu'l-Bahā's utterances, they aren't just for passive reading.
No, definitely not.
You're really encouraged to read them repeatedly, internalize the flow of ideas, and then this is the bit practice, saying them aloud until they feel genuinely natural.
Out loud makes a difference.
It does. This whole exercise is designed to help you speak with fluidity and confidence, allowing you to draw on these teachings organically when the right moment pops up in a discussion. It's about embodying the ideas, not just, intellectualizing them.
And the text also gives a really vital caution about the wisdom needed when you do quote directly from the writings.
Oh.
It's not about just interjecting quotes into every other sentence, no. Instead, it emphasizes achieving moderation and a sort of delicate balance between direct quotation and using your own words to explain the teachings.
That makes sense.
And this balance, the source explains, it comes from devoted study, from really allowing the writings to genuinely shape your thoughts and feelings.
I see.
So when your own understanding is permeated by the spirit of the writings, then your words, whether they're direct quotes or your own explanation, will carry that same profound essence.
One aspect that really stood out to me here is how the unit strongly encourages memorizing passages. The source actually states these passages have a special power that penetrates the human heart and will, when woven into your speech, have a profound effect on the listener. Can you talk a bit more about why that specific practice, memorization, is so vital beyond just recall?
Yes, this point is absolutely crucial because it speaks directly to the transformative power inherent in sacred texts. Memorization, you see, it isn't just rote learning. It's about internalizing the language, the concepts, so deeply that they actually become part of your mental landscape, part of how you think.
Right.
So when you weave these passages into your speech, they carry an authentic spiritual resonance. They allow their inherent power to connect directly with the listener's heart, potentially bypassing intellectual barriers and inspiring a deeper response. It's quite powerful.
Okay, so moving from the general principles of uplifting conversations, the first specific concept we really dive into concerns humanity's fundamental need for an educator. And the Thorst begins by inviting us to just look around, observe the natural world, drawing a universal principle from simple, everyday examples.
Yes, the text starts by highlighting how every realm of existence, from minerals and plants to animals and humans, inherently requires an educator for its proper development. It uses really clear, illustrative examples. Well, think about a garden. No matter how fertile the soil is, it needs a gardener's care to yield a plentiful harvest, right?
Of course.
And land, if it's just left untended, it won't magically become productive. It requires a farmer to cultivate it.
And this analogy, it extends directly to us, to humans, offering a really powerful insight into our nature. The source suggests that if a human being were left completely alone in the wilderness, without any guidance or education, they would likely regress, maybe even take on animalistic ways. Yet with proper education, that same individual could reach the greatest heights of accomplishment.
Incredible potential.
So the core insight here seems to be that civilization isn't some natural, automatic state. It's more like a meticulously cultivated garden, entirely dependent on continuous guidance and education. Without educators, we simply don't build societies.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It completely reframes human progress and our collective well-being as something that has to be nurtured, not just somehow achieved. The profound implication is that civilization, with all its complexities, its arts, sciences, moral frameworks, it's built layer by layer through this continuous process of education.
Yeah.
Without educators, we really would revert to a more primitive state, lacking those foundational frameworks for an ordered society.
The source then goes on to beautifully detail three distinct kinds of education, which is, I think, a crucial distinction for us to grasp. First, there's material education.
Okay.
This focuses on the development of the body, essentially, our physical well-being. Think about fields like medicine, nutrition, exercise science, that sort of thing.
Got it. Physical health.
Then we have human education, which is much broader. It encompasses civilization and progress itself. This includes establishing governance, social order, promoting human welfare, fostering commerce and industry, developing arts and sciences, driving momentous discoveries.
Wow. Okay. So pretty much everything that makes up society.
Right. Think about the development of legal systems, economic theories, the internet, space exploration. These are all products of human education that enable our collective advancement.
Makes sense.
And finally, what the source calls spiritual education. This is described as true education because it consists of acquiring divine perfections and developing the spiritual nature, the higher nature of the human being.
Ah, the higher nature.
Yeah, it's about cultivating virtues like justice, compassion, honesty, love. So why is this particular form of education deemed true education? What makes it stand out?
Well, it's deemed true education because it addresses the deepest and most enduring aspect of our human reality, our spiritual dimension. While material and human education are absolutely vital for our physical and social existence, spiritual education is what perfects the individual. It aligns them with the divine purpose, and it unlocks their fullest potential for noble character and profound understanding.
I see.
Without it, the other two forms of education can actually be misdirected or even become destructive, leading to brilliance, but without a moral compass.
That leads us naturally to the need for a perfect educator. The source challenges the idea that someone might deny the need for an educator, maybe thinking their own intelligence is enough. It compares this to a child claiming they don't need education.
Right.
It points out that this viewpoint denies the obvious. Why is it so apparent that an ordinary human being isn't enough?
It's considered obvious because no ordinary human being is capable of the truly formidable task of educating humanity in all three dimensions simultaneously.
Ah, all three.
Yes. We might be able to nourish the body or inspire knowledge in certain fields, sure. But to also breathe the life of the spirit into people, to cultivate those divine perfections, that's simply beyond our ordinary capacity.
So who could do it?
The source clarifies that only the manifestations of God have the power to accomplish them. These are chosen souls who are sent by God from time to time to be the universal educators of humanity. This really highlights that the ultimate source of spiritual and comprehensive human progress is divine.
Okay, so these are profound ideas. How can we integrate them into our conversations? The source asks us to consider how they could be introduced naturally. For instance, if the issue under discussion is something like the moral decline of society, how might we approach that?
Well, if someone's expressing concern about moral decline, you could gently introduce the idea that while, yes, material and human education are crucial, maybe society's challenges stem partly from a deficiency in spiritual education.
Hmm.
You might suggest that without a universally accepted moral framework, without an educator who can truly breathe life into the human spirit, our collective moral compass can drift. It reframes the problem from just a social or political issue to one with deeper spiritual roots, inviting a more holistic view.
Or what if the topic is how to work for the betterment of the world? How does recognizing these three types of education, especially the spiritual one, change our approach to solving global problems?
Oh, it fundamentally changes the approach.
Yeah.
We realize that purely material solutions or technological ones, while important, just won't be enough on their own, not without a corresponding transformation in character and values.
Right.
It shifts the focus from purely external fixes to internal spiritual development as a prerequisite for true betterment. It makes you recognize that real societal advancement hinges on cultivating those noble qualities within individuals first.
And then the natural follow-up question often comes up. Okay, so who are some of these educators you're talking about? How does the text guide us to respond to that?
The text clarifies that these are the manifestations of God. You can explain that these are the divine channels, like perfect mirrors reflecting God's attributes sent throughout history. Figures like Abraham, Moses, Zoroaster, Buddha, Christ, Muhammad, and Baha'u'lláh.
Okay.
Their function isn't just to teach doctrines, but to embody and reflect the divine qualities, providing the spiritual sustenance humanity needs to progress. They are the conduits through which divine wisdom flows to humanity.
The source offers some really powerful quotes for reflection here. The first one, all men have been created to carry forward an ever-advancing civilization. That really speaks to an innate human purpose, doesn't it? A call to contribute to something bigger, something progressive.
It connects directly to spiritual education because it implies our true purpose isn't just material gain, but actively building a better world. And that requires our higher nature to be unveiled. Which leads beautifully into the next quote. The purpose of the one true God, in revealing himself unto men, is to lay bare those gems that lie hidden within the mind of their true and inmost selves.
The gems within.
Exactly. It reinforces the idea that spiritual education is about unveiling our inherent potential, bringing out those divine qualities that lie within each one of us, like hidden precious gems.
And the twin purpose of the prophets is articulated so clearly here. God's purpose in sending his prophets unto men is twofold. The first is to liberate the children of men from the darkness of ignorance and guide them to the light of true understanding. The second is to ensure the peace and tranquility of mankind and provide all the means by which they can be established.
And those two purposes are deeply interconnected. The first relates to intellectual and spiritual enlightenment, guiding humanity out of ignorance, which isn't just a lack of facts, but a lack of true understanding about reality, purpose, ourselves.
Okay.
The second purpose relates directly to social progress and stability. Peace and tranquility aren't just an absence of conflict, but the positive conditions that allow humans to flourish. And those conditions are established through the spiritual principles these educators bring.
Finally, this quote, men at all times and under all conditions stand in need of one to exhort them, guide them, and to instruct and teach them. This really emphasizes the ongoing universal nature of this need for divine guidance, doesn't it? Regardless of the era or how advanced we think we are.
Absolutely, it's a constant need.
So, as you reflect on this, listener, consider, how does recognizing humanity's fundamental need for a spiritual educator perhaps reframe the challenges you see in the world, or even in your own personal growth? Does it give you a different lens?
And that raises an important question for all of us. If we acknowledge this profound need for a divine educator, how does that shape our personal quest for knowledge and our understanding of human progress? Does it maybe encourage us to seek out and engage with spiritual teachings more deeply, recognizing their central, indispensable role in both our individual lives and our collective advancement?
Building on that understanding of our need for an educator, it naturally begs an even deeper question. How can we, as finite beings, truly grasp the infinite reality of our Creator?
A huge question.
It is. And the next profound insight from the source unravels this very mystery. It offers a clear, beautiful analogy to help us understand how knowing God is possible.
The statement begins by inviting us to consider the infinite universe around us, and then it poses a fundamental question. Could it possibly have been created without a creator?
Logically.
Logically, the conclusion is no. No complex system can just exist without an originating intelligence. But then it immediately pivots to the challenge of comprehension. Can the created ever truly comprehend the reality of its creator?
And the analogy deepens this point beautifully. Whatever is lower is unable to comprehend the power of that which is higher. It gives really clear examples. A stone or a tree, no matter how much they evolve, can never imagine the powers of sight and hearing.
Right, impossible for them.
Or an animal, similarly, can never comprehend the reality of a human being or become aware of the powers of the human spirit.
So what's the logical conclusion for our understanding of God?
The logical leap is made explicit. Therefore, how can we, the created, understand the reality of our Creator? It highlights the inherent logical impossibility of our finite, limited human minds fully grasping the infinite, boundless essence of God.
Our human perception, being part of creation itself, is simply not equipped to grasp the uncreated, transcendent reality of the divine essence directly.
That seems like a challenging paradox, doesn't it? We can't grasp God directly, yet we're encouraged to seek Him. But the source offers a profound solution to this seeming impossibility. It assures us that, although our understanding can never reach God, we are not deprived of knowing Him.
Ah, okay. How?
It then introduces the concept of the manifestations of God. From time to time, a special being appears on earth who is the manifestation of God.
And these manifestations, they serve as perfect conduits, perfect channels. The text beautifully states, all the perfections, the bounty, and the splendor that belong to God are visible in these holy manifestations, like the rays of the sun that appear in a clear, polished mirror.
The mirror analogy.
Yes, and it's a crucial clarification.
Right.
The sun does not descend into the mirror. Similarly, God does not descend from His sanctity to this plane of existence. What is meant is that all that humanity knows, learns, and understands of the names and attributes and perfections of God refers to His holy manifestations.
So that's the key takeaway.
That's the key. While God's essence is unknowable, His qualities, His will, His love, His justice, they are perfectly reflected and made accessible to humanity through these divine mirrors. And that enables us to truly know Him in the only way possible for us.
Okay, so how can we weave these really profound ideas into a conversation naturally? The source suggests this could easily come up in a discussion about, say, the existence of God or the purpose of life. How might that conversation unfold?
Well, if someone is grappling with the concept of God's existence or maybe the ultimate purpose of it all, this framework offers a clear, rational way to discuss. Exactly. It helps demystify the abstract and make the divine accessible, but without diminishing God's transcendence. It grounds the discussion in observable reality, the transformative effect these manifestations have had on humanity throughout history.
What about other topics? Questions that might come up among friends or family where these ideas could be shared.
Oh.
Maybe questions about revelation or prophecy or the very nature of faith itself.
Oh, absolutely. If someone questions how divine guidance can be relevant in our modern world, you can explain that the manifestations address the specific needs of their time while reflecting eternal truths. And if they ask, okay, well, what are some of the things we know about God through His manifestations? You can answer directly from the text.
Yeah.
We know God's names and attributes and perfections through them, like His love, His justice, His wisdom, His power, unity, compassion. These qualities are perfectly reflected in these divine educators. It's through their perfect lives, their teachings, their suffering sometimes, and their transformative impact that we come to know what God is like, not through trying to directly apprehend an unknowable essence.
The quotes here are equally illuminating. The knowledge of Him who is the origin of all things and attainment unto Him are impossible, say, through knowledge of and attainment unto these luminous beings who proceed from the Sun of Truth. Wow. That truly highlights the crucial role of manifestations as the sole pathway to knowing God.
It removes any ambiguity, doesn't it? It's stating that for humanity, these manifestations are not just a way, but the way to truly know God and achieve spiritual attainment. And further, the person of the manifestation have ever been the representative and mouthpiece of God. He, in truth, is the dayspring of God's most excellent titles and the dawning place of his exalted attributes.
The dawning place. I like that.
It's beautiful. It delves into the concept of manifestations as direct divine intermediaries, the very place where God's perfections dawn for humanity to witness and learn from.
And their authority is emphasized by this next quote. Be ye assured, moreover, that the works and acts of each and every one of these manifestations of God are all ordained by God and a reflection of his will and purpose. This speaks volumes about the divine authority and purpose behind every action and utterance of these sacred beings, reinforcing their role as instruments of God's will. So, for you listening, how does understanding God through his manifestations change your approach to faith? Or maybe your quest for spiritual truth? Does it shift your focus from perhaps an abstract, distant deity to one who actively communicates and nurtures humanity through these chosen souls?
And this raises an important question. If our understanding of God comes primarily through these divine mirrors, how does that shape our own spiritual growth and our interactions with others? Does it inspire us, perhaps, to seek out and emulate those reflected divine perfections in our own lives, recognizing that our own spiritual progress is tied to reflecting those same qualities?
From understanding God through his manifestations, we move quite naturally to a concept that challenges so much of our divided world today. The oneness of religion.
A huge principle.
It really is. And it's a topic that resonates with many people, especially when we see so much division. The source offers profound insights into finding unity amidst all the apparent differences.
It starts with these beautiful, unifying metaphors, inviting us to be lovers of light no matter from what lamp it appears,
Nice.
and to be lovers of the rose no matter in what garden it blooms, and ultimately to be seekers of truth no matter from what source it comes. These analogies powerfully convey the idea that the source, the external form, shouldn't prevent us from recognizing the intrinsic value or the underlying truth.
That's such a vital reminder. The text points out that attachment to one lamp can prevent us from appreciating the light when it shines in another. It really emphasizes the need to rid ourselves of preconceived notions and give up our prejudices. And this powerful imagery. If our cup is full of self, there is no room in it for the water of life.
Yeah.
What does this full cup analogy signify for us as spiritual seekers?
Oh, this full cup analogy has profound spiritual significance. It speaks directly to the humility and the open-mindedness that are required when seeking truth. If we approach spiritual inquiry with our minds already crammed full of our own opinions, our biases, or attachments to just one particular tradition, we leave no room for new or broader understandings to enter.
Right, you block it out.
Exactly. Truth-seeking requires an empty receptive cup, ready to reset the water of life from whatever source it may come.
The source then asserts that religion is the light of the world. It guides our steps and opens to us the doors of unending happiness. And the key insight here seems to be that when we investigate the teachings of all the great religions, free from the restrictions of dogmatic beliefs and blind imitation, what do we realize?
We realize they rest on the same foundation. They all reveal the knowledge of God, and they all seek the advancement of the world of humanity.
Even with the differences.
Yes, it acknowledges that there are, of course, differences among the social laws and regulations propagated by each religion according to the requirements of time and place. These are adaptations, you see, to the specific needs of a particular historical period or culture.
Okay.
But the text stresses, in their essence, all religions are one. This means that beneath the varying forms and practices, the core spiritual principles are universal and enduring, all stemming from the same divine source.
And what are those shared virtues? The ones that transcend these outward differences? The text is very explicit.
Yes, it lists them. They all cultivate faith, knowledge, certitude, justice, piety, high-mindedness, trustworthiness, love of God, and charity. They teach purity, detachment, humility, forbearance, patience, and constancy.
Wow, that's quite a list.
It is, and the source makes it clear that these virtues are renewed in every dispensation.
So they're timeless.
Absolutely. This is a critical point that underpins the whole idea of the oneness of religion. It highlights the enduring nature of these core spiritual principles across all religious traditions. While outward practices might differ, the inner transformation they aim for, the virtues they cultivate, are remarkably consistent. And this provides a powerful basis for unity, emphasizing what truly unites us rather than what superficially divides us.
But then, the source also points out the unfortunate reality we see. It is unfortunate that because of prejudices and blind imitation, many are not able to see the underlying oneness of religion. It reminds us that God's guidance to humanity is truth, and truth has no divisions. It is one.
And this leads to a vital conclusion. If we investigate truth independently, setting aside preconceived notions, our search will lead to unity.
Why?
Because truth itself is singular, it doesn't contradict itself. If our goal is unity, then independent investigation, free from inherited prejudices, is the clear path forward. And the ultimate purpose of religion is made crystal clear. Religion should unify us. It must establish bonds of love among people.
And then this dark warning.
Yes, if it becomes the cause of enmity and strife, its absence is preferable. This is a really powerful and urgent statement, stressing that a religion that divides has fundamentally lost its true divine purpose.
How might you weave these ideas into a conversation? For example, in discussions about religious conflict, which is so often on people's minds. How could you bring this perspective in?
Well, you could gently suggest reframing religious conflict. Maybe it's not an inherent flaw of religion itself, but rather a departure from its true unifying purpose. You can explain that when religion becomes rigid, dogmatic, or too tied to specific cultural forms rather than its universal essence, it can unfortunately be manipulated to create division. But if we return to that shared foundation of divine love and the independent pursuit of truth, conflict naturally begins to dissipate.
Or, so you're discussing the importance of investigating the truth and not being manipulated by propaganda. How does applying this principle help us discern truth from divisive rhetoric, whether religious or otherwise?
It encourages a critical, independent approach to all information, rather than just passively accepting what we're told. It's about being an active seeker of truth, not just a passive believer or follower. This principle empowers individuals to critically evaluate information and resist manipulation, which is absolutely essential for fostering unity in a world saturated with divisive narratives.
And if someone were to ask you, okay, what are some of the truths common to all religions then? How does the text guide our answer?
You can draw directly from the text itself. They all reveal knowledge of God, they all seek human advancement, and they all cultivate those essential virtues like faith, justice, love, purity, humility, patience. These are the golden threads that bind them together, demonstrating their essential oneness despite the superficial differences.
Let's look at some powerful quotes from the source material on this. There can be no doubt whatever that the peoples of the world, of whatever race or religion, derive their inspiration from one heavenly source and are the subjects of one God. That really underlines our shared spiritual heritage, a common origin for all humanity.
Yes, it clearly asserts our common origin, implying that our perceived differences are superficial compared to this fundamental unity. And then practically, consort with the followers of all religions in a spirit of friendliness and fellowship.
So active.
It emphasizes the active, practical application of unity. It's not just an abstract idea floating out there, but a call to a specific way of interacting with others, building bridges.
And then, the overarching goal of God's revelation. The fundamental purpose animating the faith of God and his religion is to safeguard the interests and promote the unity of the human race. This clarifies the ultimate purpose behind all divine teachings.
It confirms that the true purpose of divine revelation is collective well-being and global unity, not division or sectarianism. And finally, that simple, powerful plea, the religion of God is for love and unity. Make it not the cause of enmity or dissension.
Yeah.
It reiterates the core principle, stressing its vital importance and serving as a direct warning against misusing religion to sow discord.
As you consider this profound principle, listener, what are the implications of this deep dive for fostering genuine understanding and peace in our very diverse world? How does it encourage you personally to bridge divides?
And this raises an important question. How can you personally practice this oneness of religion in your daily interactions? How can we move beyond mere tolerance to active fellowship? It's about seeking common ground, understanding, and actually celebrating the diversity of expressions that ultimately stem from that single divine source.
Okay, next up. The relationship between science and religion. This is often portrayed as one of inherent conflict, isn't it? Like a battle between faith and reason.
Very often, yes.
But this statement offers a profoundly different and, frankly, quite refreshing perspective.
It really does. It begins with a foundational principle. Religion must be in conformity with science, and the reason given is crystal clear. God has endowed us with reason that we may perceive what is true.
Reason is the key.
Yes. Science and religion are both expected to meet the standards of reason. Therefore, they ought to be in agreement with each other. This establishes reason as the arbiter of truth, demanding that both religion and science align with its principles.
That's such a powerful departure from the idea that Faith requires abandoning reason. And then that beautiful analogy. They are the two wings upon which human intelligence can soar to great heights, the two wings with which humanity can fly. One wing is not sufficient. What does this analogy tell us about the consequence of relying on only one wing?
This analogy is so potent because it clearly illustrates the debilitating effect of relying on only one wing. I mean, imagine trying to fly with just one wing, you'd just spin in circles,
Right.
unable to achieve true forward motion.
Right. Go nowhere.
Exactly. Similarly, human intelligence, whether individual or collective, cannot achieve its full potential or true progress by championing one form of knowledge while neglecting or opposing the other. They are mutually necessary for ascent. It signifies that true progress requires a balanced development in both the spiritual and the material realms.
The source goes on to praise science as a bestowal of God. It explains that science discovers the laws of the physical world and enables us to overcome the limitations nature has imposed on us. The text states that science unites the present and the past and penetrates the mysteries of the future, really underscoring how fundamentally our progress depends on it. We see this everywhere, don't we? From revolutionary medicine to instant global communication. It's truly presented as a divine gift.
Precisely. Science isn't just a collection of facts. It's a divine gift that allows us to understand and harness the physical world, leading to profound material advancement. However, the statement then pivots to the equally crucial role of religion and warns very clearly of the dangers of their separation.
Okay, what are the dangers?
It says, the religion of God is the promoter of truth, the supporter of knowledge, and the civilizer of the human race. But then the warning comes. Without religion, science becomes a tool to advance materialism, leading eventually to despair.
Despair, that's strong.
It is. And conversely, when religion is opposed to science, it becomes mere superstition. This highlights a critical, indispensable balance needed between the two.
Can you unpack that despair a bit more? The despair that science without religion can lead to.
Yeah, it's a profound point. It implies a kind of moral and existential void. If science provides us with immense power and understanding of the physical world, but no corresponding moral compass, no sense of purpose beyond material advancement, it can lead to ethical nightmares, environmental crises, a deep spiritual emptiness.
I see.
We can build incredible technologies, but without a sense of why or for whom or to what end, that progress can feel hollow or even become destructive. And on the flip side, religion without science risks becoming blind faith, ungrounded in reality, easily manipulated into dogma and prejudice.
So the harmony is key.
Absolutely. The text concludes, if religion and science walk together in harmony, much of the hatred and bitterness now bringing misery to humanity will come to an end. This harmony is presented as the actual key to global peace and progress.
So how would you respond to someone who said, religion is a thing of the past, science will solve all the problems of humanity? That's a very common skepticism today, isn't it?
It is. I would clarify, as the text suggests, that religion isn't superstition in its true form, but it becomes so without science. And crucially, that science without religion can lead to that despair born of materialism.
Right.
You could point to examples where technological advancements, unguided by spiritual wisdom or ethical considerations, have inadvertently deepened social inequalities or environmental degradation, or even created tools for mass destruction without a corresponding ethical framework to control them. The scientific advancements are impressive, yes, but the application of that knowledge often requires a moral compass that science alone doesn't provide.
Let's reflect on some powerful quotes here. First and foremost among these favors, which the Almighty hath conferred upon man, is the gift of understanding. This gift giveth man the power to discern the truth in all things, leadeth him to that which is right, and helpeth him to discover the secrets of creation. This emphasizes the divine gift of reason itself, which underpins both scientific inquiry and spiritual understanding.
It validates our rational capacity as a primary means of knowing both material and spiritual truths. And then this one. Look at the world and ponder a while upon it. It unveileth the book of its own self before thine eyes, and revealeth that which the pen of thy Lord hath inscribed therein.
The book of nature.
Exactly. It connects directly to the scientific investigation of reality, seeing the natural world as a reflection of divine purpose and order, a book just waiting to be read and understood.
Finally, knowledge is as wings to man's life, and a ladder for his ascent. Its acquisition is incumbent upon everyone. This highlights the essential nature of acquiring knowledge in all its forms, scientific, spiritual, artistic, as a means for human progress and ascent.
It's a duty, really.
So how can you, in your own life, listener, Ensure that these two wings of science and religion are working in harmony, informing your decisions, your understanding of the world. It's about constantly seeking that coherence and integration between the two.
And this raises an important question. What might be lost if we champion one without truly embracing the other? And how might that imbalance impact our collective future? If we disregard science, we risk superstition. If we disregard religion, we risk materialism and potentially that despair. The harmonious interplay is clearly presented as essential for true holistic progress.
Okay, next principle. The oneness of humanity. This is a subject that truly resonates in the hearts of people everywhere today, I think. It's a vision for peace and unity that so many yearn for. And this statement helps us see diversity through a beautiful, unifying lens.
It opens with such a vivid and compelling analogy. A garden in which flowers of many colors and fragrances grow side by side is pleasing to the eye.
Lovely image.
Isn't it? And though different, each flower is refreshed by the same rain and receives the warmth of one sun. This immediately reframes diversity not as a source of division, but as a source of beauty and harmony.
And it directly applies this to us, to humanity. It is made up of many races and colors, but all come from the same God, and all have the same origin. Then, another beautiful metaphor, this time from music. The diversity in the human family should be a source of harmony, as it is in music where different notes blend together to make a perfect chord. What does this tell us about how we should perceive human difference?
It completely transforms our perception of difference. It moves it from something that can potentially cause conflict to something that actually contributes to a richer, more beautiful whole. Just as a musical chord needs distinct notes to create harmony, so too does humanity's diversity contribute to its collective beauty and strength.
So it encourages appreciation.
It actively encourages appreciation for uniqueness within unity, seeing it as an enrichment rather than a challenge.
This statement then delves into the profound importance of unity itself. Unity is necessary to existence. Love is the very cause of life. It uses the material world as an example, explaining how elements are held together by the law of attraction. Like a flower, it's held together by attraction, but when that attraction is removed, it decomposes.
And this principle applies directly to humanity. Attraction, harmony, and unity are the forces that hold humanity together. The implication is crystal clear. Without these forces, humanity, just like that flower, would decompose into chaos and disunity.
So the consequences are dire.
The societal consequences of these forces being absent are breakdown and disintegration. It highlights that unity isn't merely a nice ideal, but a fundamental requirement for our collective survival and flourishing.
The source then brings in Baha'u'llah's specific vision. Baha'u'lláh has made a design for the uniting of all the peoples of the world. We should make every effort to draw them into this circle of unity. This feels like a direct call to action for each of us, doesn't it? To consciously overcome barriers.
Absolutely.
When we meet people of diverse backgrounds, different races, nationalities, religions, opinions, the text says we should not allow these differences to become barriers between us.
This emphasizes a fundamental shift in perspective that's required. Instead of viewing differences as obstacles, we should think of them as different colored roses growing in the beautiful garden of humanity, and be glad to be among them.
Be glad to be among them.
Yes, it actively encourages an attitude of appreciation and joy for diversity, seeing it as an enrichment rather than a challenge, and inspiring us to actively build those bridges of understanding.
What are some of the issues on people's minds today that would open up the possibility for you to share these ideas with them? I mean, discussions about social division, racial tensions, global cooperation. These are conversations happening everywhere.
Exactly. When people express frustration over conflict or division or injustice, you can gently introduce the garden analogy or the music analogy. You can discuss how unity is not uniformity, but a harmonious blending of diverse elements, where each part contributes to the beauty of the whole. This offers a hopeful perspective that transcends the current societal struggles, suggesting a path forward that values difference while actively pursuing cohesion.
And if a conversation on the oneness of humankind leads to a discussion about the importance of unity in one's own community, how can each of us contribute to it practically? What can we actually do?
The text gives us concrete actions. We can actively seek common ground. We can consciously choose to see others as those different colored roses. And we can make a deliberate effort to draw others into this circle of unity by fostering fellowship and understanding.
So it's proactive.
It means being proactive and building bridges, engaging in dialogue, and nurturing relationships across lines of difference, rather than just passively waiting for unity to somehow emerge on its own.
Let's reflect on some key quotes from the source on this. "The tabernacle of unity hath been raised. Regard ye not one another as strangers. Ye are the fruits of one tree and the leaves of one branch." That core metaphor is just so powerful, isn't it? Reminding us of our shared origin and interconnectedness.
It's a direct command to shed the illusion of separation, to recognize our fundamental unity. And then the transformative power of unity is underscored. So powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth.
Wow.
This suggests unity isn't just a moral good, but a tangible, transformative force that can literally bring about global peace and progress.
And it calls for active pursuit. "Set your faces towards unity, and let the radiance of its light shine upon you. Gather ye together, and for the sake of God resolve to root out whatever is the source of contention amongst you."
This clearly shows that unity is not passive. It requires conscious, deliberate effort and a commitment to identify and address the root causes of disunity within ourselves and our communities. And finally, it behooveth man to adhere tenaciously unto that which will promote fellowship, kindliness, and unity.
Tenaciously, that's strong.
It stresses the personal commitment required. It makes it clear that fostering unity is a daily practice, a tenacious adherence to principles that build connections, not break them.
How does embracing the oneness of humanity impact your daily interactions, listener, and your vision for a peaceful world? Does it change how you approach differences, moving perhaps from mere tolerance to active appreciation and fellowship?
And this raises an important question. If our diversity is truly meant to be a source of harmony, like notes in a chord, what active steps can you take to manifest that harmony in your own relationships and communities, moving beyond just tolerating difference to actively celebrating it and building unity through it?
Okay, next principle, justice. This is definitely a matter of great concern to most people today, isn't it? We see discussions about fairness, equality, rights, everywhere we look.
Constantly.
And this statement provides a framework for understanding its fundamental nature and its universal application, right from the start.
It begins by acknowledging a fundamental truth about human existence. Difference of capacity in individuals is fundamental to human existence.
Right, we're not all the same.
Exactly. Therefore, it is not possible for all people to be equal in every respect. This clarifies right away that justice isn't about imposing some kind of artificial uniformity or absolute equality of outcome, which is inherently unrealistic given human diversity.
But despite those differences, the source immediately stresses the paramount importance of justice. Human affairs in their entirety should be governed by the principle of justice. Justice must be sacred, and the rights of every person must be safeguarded. It really emphasizes the sanctity, the sacredness, and the universality of justice as a guiding principle.
Indeed, it underlines that justice is not limited, it is a universal quality. It must operate in all departments of human life.
All departments.
Yes. This means justice isn't just for legal systems or courts. It applies to economics, politics, social interactions, even our individual decisions. The text emphasizes that each and every member of society should enjoy the benefits of civilization because we all belong to the body of humanity.
Ah, that body of humanity analogy again is incredibly powerful. If one member of this body is in anguish or distress, all the other members inevitably suffer. How can one be afflicted and the others be at ease? It's such a vivid image of our interconnectedness.
It presents a truly organic view of society, where the suffering of one part directly impacts the well-being of the whole. This means that a truly healthy society simply cannot ignore the pain or injustice faced by any of its members. The source then diagnoses a societal imbalance. Today's society lacks the necessary reciprocity and symmetry. It is not well arranged. It says, laws and principles are required that will ensure the well-being and happiness of the entire human family. This really challenges us to reflect on current societal issues through this lens of interconnected suffering and systemic imbalance, prompting us to seek more holistic solutions.
And then the statement addresses the pillars of justice. Justice is established on the pillars of reward and punishment. Now, this might sound a bit stark to some ears today, but it's presented as crucial for maintaining order.
It is, and it points out that governments ruled by those without faith, with no fear of divine retribution, will execute unjust laws.
Ah, the spiritual dimension.
Exactly. This emphasizes that justice requires an internal spiritual dimension, not just external enforcement. Hope for reward and fear of punishment are both needed if oppression is to be prevented. It means both positive reinforcement for good actions and consequences or disincentives for wrongdoing are necessary for a stable society.
But it goes deeper.
Yes, most importantly, it's about the consciousness of those in power. Legislators and administrators of the laws must be aware of the spiritual consequences of their decisions. Rulers who believe that the consequences of their actions will follow them beyond this earthly life, who know that their judgments will be weighed in the balance of divine justice, they will surely avoid tyranny and oppression.
I see.
This highlights that true justice isn't just about human laws, but about a profound spiritual accountability that acts as a powerful deterrent to corruption and oppression from within.
What topics of conversation would benefit from the insights this statement offers? I mean, discussions about legal systems, human rights, governance, social welfare, global inequality, they immediately come to mind.
Absolutely. When discussing human rights, for instance, you can introduce the idea that rights are sacred and universal, applying to every member of that body of humanity, irrespective of their capacity or background. When discussing social welfare, you can highlight that the anguish of one member affects all, making it a collective responsibility to ensure everyone enjoys the basic benefits of civilization. This framework provides a moral and spiritual foundation for these critical societal discussions, moving beyond just political expediency.
And how would you respond to someone who believes injustice will never end? Which is, let's face it, a common sentiment given the state of the world. How do you respond with hope but realism?
Well, while acknowledging the pervasive nature of injustice, you can't deny it. You can draw on the text to offer a hopeful yet realistic perspective. You can explain that while it's a tremendous challenge, the eventual establishment of divine justice is fundamentally tied to a transformation in spiritual awareness, particularly among those in positions of power.
The internal change again.
It's about cultivating that fear of divine retribution and hope for spiritual reward, which leads to the creation of laws and principles that genuinely ensure the well-being of the entire human family. It's a profound, ongoing process, certainly not an overnight fix, but one fundamentally rooted in spiritual transformation, not just political tinkering.
The quotes on justice are truly illuminating. The light of men is justice. Quench it not with the contrary winds of oppression and tyranny. The purpose of justice is the appearance of unity among men. Wow. That intrinsically connects justice with unity.
It clearly states that justice is a prerequisite for unity, implying that without justice, true unity cannot exist. And this one, no radiance can compare with that of justice. The organization of the world and the tranquility of mankind depend upon it.
That's foundational.
It emphasizes justice as a central pillar for all societal order and peace, underscoring its indispensable role. Nothing else compares to its radiance.
And the practical mechanisms by which justice operates are laid out clearly. That which traineth the world is justice, for it is upheld by two pillars, reward and punishment. These two pillars are the sources of life to the world.
This reinforces the idea that both positive reinforcement for righteous actions and consequences for wrongdoing are necessary components for a just society. They act as the very sources of life that keep the world organized and tranquil. It's a pragmatic recognition of human nature and societal needs.
So, given that we are all part of the body of humanity, what personal responsibility do you feel, listener, in upholding the principle of justice in your daily choices and interactions? It's not just for governments, it's for us too, right?
And this raises an important question. If justice is truly universal, applying to all departments of life, how might our understanding of reward and punishment extend beyond mere legal systems to our own spiritual and moral accountability? How do our personal actions, even seemingly small ones, contribute to the larger fabric of justice or injustice in the world? And how might we cultivate that internal sense of accountability that the text emphasizes?
Okay, let's talk about wealth and poverty. The gap between the rich and the poor, it seems to only widen globally, and this statement offers a very specific, spiritually rooted perspective on this incredibly pressing issue. It's presented not just as a canonomic problem, but as a deeply moral and spiritual one.
The source immediately highlights the stark reality of the problem. Doesn't mince words. Today, because of the lack of reciprocity and harmonious relations, some members of society are satisfied, living in great comfort and luxury, while others are in want of food and shelter. Some are enormously rich, and others live in utmost poverty. This direct contrast really emphasizes the profound societal imbalance and the immense human suffering it entails.
It's important to clarify, though, as the text does, that this does not mean that all must be equal, for differences in degree and capacity are inherent to creation. So it's not advocating for some kind of absolute forced equality of outcome.
No, not uniformity.
Right, but rather the abolition of extremes. The text states very clearly, the deplorable overabundance of wealth accompanied by demoralizing poverty can be abolished.
Yes, the focus is squarely on eliminating the extremes, not natural differences in capacity. It asserts that if it be right for a capitalist to possess a fortune, it is equally just that the worker should have a sufficient means of existence.
Basic needs met.
Yes. And then a really profound statement connecting poverty directly to a systemic issue. When we see extreme poverty somewhere, we shall find tyranny. Tyranny. This suggests that abject poverty is not just an isolated misfortune, but often an indicator of underlying injustice or oppression within the societal structure itself.
The core of the solution, according to the source, is that divine justice must become manifest in human conditions. That's a powerful statement. But for many people, justice sounds like laws and systems. How does the text move us beyond just policy into a deeper, maybe spiritual understanding of these economic issues?
That's where it truly redefines the conversation. It emphasizes that the very fundamentals of the whole economic condition are divine in nature and are associated with the world of the heart and spirit.
The heart and spirit.
Yes. So while policies and laws certainly matter, real lasting change begins with a transformation in our collective values and compassion. Economic solutions, according to this view, must go beyond purely material policies. They require a spiritual foundation, a profound transformation of hearts and attitudes.
And this spiritual transformation is specifically called for in the wealthy, isn't it? The rich must give of their abundance. They must soften their hearts and cultivate a compassionate intelligence. This is presented not as about forced redistribution, but a voluntary, willing establishment of adjustments.
Absolutely. The text emphasizes that hearts must be so cemented together, love must become so dominant that the wealthy will most willingly take steps to establish economic adjustments permanently. Willingly. They must realize that it is neither just nor lawful that they should possess great wealth while there is abject poverty in the community. This is the core of the spiritual solution. A profound internal conviction that leads to voluntary action.
And it's not about making everyone poor.
Not at all. It's not about impoverishing the rich. It states clearly, in this way they will willingly give of their wealth while retaining as much as will enable them to live comfortably. It's about balance, moderation, and compassion, driven by an awakened conscience, not by deprivation.
What other topics related to wealth and poverty, things like employment, wages, housing, just to name a few, would benefit from the ideas in this statement? How could we apply this?
Well, when discussing employment, for example, you could highlight the worker's right to a sufficient means of existence, emphasizing the need for a dignified livelihood, not just any job. On housing, you could connect the want of food and shelter directly to the lack of reciprocity and harmonious relations in society, emphasizing that meeting basic needs should be a collective concern for all members of the body of humanity. It reframes these issues from purely economic or political debates into matters of divine justice and spiritual obligation, broadening the scope of the conversation significantly.
Okay, and this is a big one, a skeptical question you might hear. What would you answer if someone who heard you mention these ideas asked you, are you seriously saying that the rich will just come to understand and support strict tax laws and they'll willingly pay what they really should? What makes you think that's possible?
That's a fair question, given current realities. I would emphasize the spiritual transformation and the change of heart described in the text, rather than solely relying on external laws or enforcement.
Right.
The text specifically highlights that the willingness is key, and it stems from a deep realization that it's neither just nor lawful to possess inordinate wealth while others suffer. It's not primarily about being forced by strict tax laws, though such laws might certainly play a role in structuring a just society.
Okay.
It's about a fundamental shift in values where love and compassion become dominant forces, leading individuals to willingly contribute to economic adjustments for the common good. This is a vision that, yes, transcends current economic models because it's rooted in a spiritual revolution of the heart.
Let's look at some powerful quotes related to this. "Ye must give forth goodly and wondrous fruits, that ye yourselves and others may profit therefrom. Thus it is incumbent on everyone to engage in crafts and professions, for therein lies the secret of wealth." This highlights the dignity and purpose of work as a source of wealth and benefit, both for the individual and for others.
It connects productive activity with personal and collective flourishing, and then the golden rule applied directly to economic justice. If thine eyes be turned towards mercy, forsake the things that profit thee, and cleave unto that which will profit mankind. And if thine eyes be turned towards justice, choose thou for thy neighbor that which thou choosest for thyself.
That's incredibly direct.
It's a direct spiritual injunction to prioritize collective well-being and fairness in all our economic considerations, moving beyond pure self-interest.
And this simple yet profound statement: "Blessed is he who preferreth his brother before himself," emphasizing altruism as a divine quality and a pathway to blessings.
It points to the spiritual reward inherent in selflessness and generosity. And then, no goodly deed was or will ever be lost, for benevolent acts are treasures preserved with God for the benefit of those who act.
So generosity benefits the giver, too.
Yes, it connects generosity to spiritual recompense and reinforces the idea that acting justly and benevolently benefits the giver spiritually, creating a kind of spiritual economy of blessings.
Finally, a call to moderation. Take heed not to outstrip the bounds of moderation and be numbered among the extravagant. This points clearly to the virtue of moderation and warns against the kind of excess that often fuels the disparity between rich and poor.
A crucial balance.
So listener, how can these principles of divine justice in economics inspire your personal choices regarding consumption, giving, and your understanding of collective well-being? It really makes you think about your own role and responsibility in this picture.
And this raises an important question. What fundamental changes would need to occur within individuals and within our institutions for this spiritual vision of economic justice to truly manifest in the world? And how might we begin to foster those changes, starting right from our own hearts and our own communities?
Okay, let's tackle prejudice. In all its many forms, it continues to plague humanity, doesn't it? Causing so much pain and division across the globe.
A persistent poison.
And this statement unequivocally declares its destructive power and its direct opposition to divine will. It really doesn't mince words about its impact at all.
No, it doesn't. It starts right out by stating that prejudice in all its forms, religious, racial, gender, ethnic, economic, destroys the edifice of humanity and is opposed to the commands of God.
Destroys the edifice of humanity? That's strong.
It is. And it then traces the devastating historical impact. For thousands of years, humanity has suffered from war and bloodshed spurred on by one or another of these prejudices. As long as they persist, humanity will not have rest. This stresses the profound urgency of its elimination for human peace and collective well-being. There's no rest possible while prejudice exists.
It goes on to highlight religious prejudice as particularly egregious. Why is that?
Well, it says, God has sent forth his prophets for the sole purpose of creating love and unity. All the heavenly books are the written word of love. But if these religions become divisive, they have become fruitless. Therefore, religious prejudice is especially opposed to the will and command of God.
I see. It contradicts the core purpose.
Exactly. It highlights the deep spiritual contradiction inherent in religious prejudice. If the very purpose of religion is love and unity, then any religious belief or practice that fosters division or hatred fundamentally misunderstands or perverts that purpose. It strips religion of its sacred fruitfulness and negates its divine intent, making it a source of discord rather than harmony.
Then, national prejudice is addressed. National prejudice is entirely unjustifiable. Earth is one land, one country. It points out the absurdity of these imaginary boundaries we create. It gives the example of a river. People declare a river to be a boundary line, whereas the river was created for both and is a natural artery for all.
It clearly states, is it not imagination and ignorance which impel people to make the bounties of life the cause of war and destruction? This points to the deep illogic and the self-inflicted harm that national prejudice perpetuates. We turn shared blessings, like a river, into causes for conflict through purely artificial divisions, highlighting the absurdity and the immense harm of such prejudices.
Racial prejudice is dismissed just as strongly as nothing but superstition.
Superstition, yes.
The source explains that the color of the skin of a person is merely the result of adaptations of his or her ancestors over time to climate and environment. It grounds it in biological reality, stripping away any mystical or inherent meaning we might attach to race.
And it then immediately shifts the criterion for true human worth. Character is the true criterion of humanity.
Character.
Yes. Excellence does not depend upon race and color. Faith, purity of heart, good deeds, and praiseworthy speech are what is acceptable at the threshold of God. This emphasizes the profound shift from external superficial qualities to internal spiritual and moral ones as the true measure of a person's worth and distinction in the sight of God.
Gender prejudice is also introduced here, though we'll get into it more in the next section. It states that for the longest time, women have been made subordinate to men and wronged. But fundamentally,
Fundamentally, the distinction between male and female is a requirement of the physical world. In the world of the spirit, they are equal. In the estimation of God, there is no distinction as to male and female.
so the spiritual reality is equality.
Exactly. It emphasizes that human intelligence and the capacity for virtue are universal, bestowed upon all. All humankind has been endowed by him with intelligence and perception. All have the capacity to acquire virtues. There is no circumstance today in which a person's sex provides grounds for the exercise of discrimination.
None whatsoever.
Which means any form of gender discrimination is a deviation from divine intent and a hindrance to human potential,
Right.
denying a fundamental truth about our spiritual reality.
And the statement brings it all home with the idea of humanity being created in God's image, citing the Old Testament. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. It clarifies this applies to women, too. The human being has been created in the image of God. That is to say, divine virtues are reflected and revealed in the human reality. This is true of all humanity.
And the absurdity of prejudice becomes strikingly clear when you see it this way. How utterly untenable it is to claim that only those of one color, ethnicity, or nationality were created in the likeness of God. How absurd to imply that only the wealthy were made in his image, or to think a criterion for nearness to God is a high position in society. This makes it clear that prejudice is not only harmful, but completely illogical and spiritually bankrupt.
And the path forward.
The path to illumination is clear. Humanity cannot attain illumination except through the abandonment of prejudices and the acquisition of the morals of the kingdom. This links spiritual growth directly and inescapably to shedding prejudice, highlighting that true understanding requires overcoming these artificial barriers we erect.
What challenges have your friends and neighbors brought up recently that call for the elimination of prejudice? Thinking about discussions on discrimination, social injustice, maybe even identity politics?
Well, when discussing discrimination, you can highlight how it denies that universal divine image present in all people, suppressing human potential and hurting everyone. When discussing social injustice, you can link it directly to the suffering caused by persistent prejudice, emphasizing the interconnectedness of society, how injustice anywhere affects justice everywhere. And regarding identity politics, you could suggest that while celebrating diversity is wonderful, allowing identity to become a rigid barrier to unity rather than a source of harmony ultimately hinders true progress towards a cohesive and just society.
And here's a crucial question from the source itself. Can we have prejudice and not know it? This really points to the idea of unconscious bias, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The source implicitly suggests that prejudice can be deeply ingrained through societal conditioning, through blind imitation of past attitudes, through preconceived notions we absorb without even realizing it.
So it can be hidden.
Yes, which means overcoming it requires deep, honest self-reflection, a willingness to rigorously question our own assumptions, and that independent investigation of truth to uncover and consciously dismantle these hidden biases. It requires humility to admit we might be unknowingly affected by them, and active, ongoing effort to root them out.
Let's reflect on some powerful quotes here. The earth is that one country, and mankind its citizens. That foundational principle, it's a complete reorientation of our sense of belonging, isn't it?
It's a fundamental reorientation of identity, shifting from narrow national loyalties to a global citizenship. And this one, all the saplings of the world have appeared from one tree, and all the drops from one ocean, and all beings owe their existence to one being.
We're all connected.
It highlights our universal common origin, making prejudice inherently illogical, as we are all branches of the same tree, drops from the same ocean.
And the true measure of humanity. That one indeed is a man who today dedicateth himself to the service of the entire human race.
This shifts the focus entirely from superficial identity markers to one's actions and contributions to the well-being of the whole of humanity. That's what makes a person truly human, truly noble, and the light of a good character surpasseth the light of the sun and the radiance thereof.
Character again.
Yes, connecting character is the true criterion for human worth, far surpassing any external distinction like race, nationality, or wealth.
Man's distinction lieth not in ornaments or wealth, but rather in virtuous behavior and true understanding. This reinforces what truly makes a human being distinguished and acceptable in the sight of God.
And the source offers hope and divine assistance in this struggle. God grant you may be graciously aided under all conditions to shatter the idols of superstition and to tear away the veils of the imaginations of men.
Prejudice as superstition.
Yes, it implies that prejudice is a form of spiritual blindness, an idol of superstition that can be overcome with divine help and conscious, sustained effort.
Finally, a spiritual warning about the consequences of fostering division. Of all men, the most negligent is he that disputeth idly and seeketh to advance himself over his brother. This points directly to the spiritual consequence of the arrogance and contention that fuel prejudice.
It's a path of negligence, the text says.
So, listener, how does this understanding of prejudice challenge you to look deeper into your own assumptions and biases, and to actively work towards a more unified world? It's a constant personal endeavor, isn't it? But one that benefits everyone.
And this raises an important question. If prejudice is truly superstition and ignorance, what active role can each of us play in consciously dismantling its foundations, not just in society, but first and foremost in our own lives and communities? Not just passively condemning it, but through proactive education, self-reflection, and engagement that fosters true understanding and unity.
All right, let's move on to the equality of men and women. This is a principle deeply relevant to our modern world, a topic that sparks passionate discussion everywhere.
Absolutely.
And this statement reveals its divine origin and its profound impact on human progress.
It beautifully sets the stage with that analogy to the sun again. The physical sun, through its light and heat, reveals the reality of all things on earth. And similarly, the sun of truth, shining in full splendor in the spiritual sky, brings to light realities that were not apparent in the past.
So truths unfold over time.
Exactly. It implies that spiritual truths unfold progressively, like the dawn breaking, illuminating previously obscured realities as humanity matures.
And because of this unfolding, the text says, that is why in this age, the principle of the equality of men and women has been fully recognized and is now an established fact. This is presented not just as a social trend, but as a divinely revealed reality for this specific age.
Yes, it establishes gender equality as a defining feature of the current age, a fundamental principle of this divine dispensation. It's a declaration of intrinsic worth and spiritual parity, and it states in the clearest terms, Baha'u'lláh has stated that in the sight of God, there's no distinction between men and women.
No distinction whatsoever.
Which affirms that humanity cannot truly advance unless this principle is upheld. The source then directly addresses the historical inequality we've seen for so long.
Right, how does it explain that?
It says, the condition of inequality that has existed throughout the ages is not the result of the superiority of men. It is simply that women have not been given the same opportunity to develop all their potentialities. This crucial distinction shifts the blame away from any inherent inferiority and places it squarely on systemic oppression and lack of opportunity.
And despite this historical prejudice, the text notes, history records the lives of numerous women who have achieved the greatest of accomplishments. It highlights the incredible story of Ahiri,
Yes.
a Persian poetess from the early 1800s, the first woman to accept God's new revelation for that era. Can you elaborate on her profound impact? Her story is amazing.
Her story is truly profound, yes. Born into a society where women were entirely subordinated, often secluded, Ahiri became utterly convinced that the time had come for the reality of equality to be recognized and proclaimed.
Wow, in that context.
In that context. She dedicated her life to proclaiming this truth, and her knowledge, her eloquence, baffled the most learned men of her time. She faced immense opposition from an oppressive king and an ignorant and proud clergy, yet the text says, not for a moment does she hesitate to speak the truth, ultimately giving her life for the cause she believed in.
Such courage.
Her courage and impact are a powerful testament to the inherent capacity of women when barriers are removed, showing that divine grace can empower individuals to shatter age-old norms, no matter how entrenched.
The statement then reiterates that to believe in that which God has not intended is ignorance and superstition. And it issues a clear call to action for today. Today, women should be allowed every opportunity to become educated and to assume a position of equality with men in all fields of human endeavor. This is a clear mandate for societal transformation, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's not just presented as an aspiration, but as a prerequisite for collective progress. Until the equality of men and women becomes a reality in this world as it is in the spiritual realm, the real progress of humankind will not be possible.
Not possible.
Not possible. This underscores that societal advancement is literally contingent on achieving this equality. It makes it a vital condition for the flourishing of the entire human race, not just a social justice issue for women. It affects everyone.
Were there any conversations you've had recently with friends that would have benefited from the insights this statement offers? Thinking about discussions on gender roles, workplace equality, parental responsibilities, maybe.
Oh, certainly. When discussing gender roles, you can highlight that distinctions are physical, not spiritual, and that true progress requires breaking down those artificial barriers that limit potential.
Hmm.
Regarding workplace equality, you can emphasize that denying opportunity to women hinders humanity's collective advancement. It's like trying to fly with only one wing, as the other analogy went. This principle offers a spiritual and rational framework to discuss and advance equality in practical terms.
And what are some of the beliefs and attitudes prevalent in today's society that the source implies will have to change if women are truly to assume an equal position with men in all fields of endeavor?
Well, this calls for addressing deeply internalized biases, doesn't it? Cultural norms that still limit women's roles, systemic barriers embedded in institutions. It requires a profound transformation of attitudes, moving away from seeing women as secondary or suited only for certain roles, to truly recognizing their inherent equal capacity in all fields.
It's a big shift.
It's a profound shift in consciousness that must happen at both individual and collective levels, truly embracing the full potential of half the human race.
Let's look at some key quotes here. Women and men have been and will always be equal in the sight of God. That emphasizes the timeless divine perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Irrespective of historical or cultural norms, grounding the principle in eternal truth.
It establishes the fundamental spiritual truth of equality, which then becomes the engine driving societal change. And this one. Know ye not why we created you all from the same dust? That no one should exalt himself over the other.
Back to humility.
Yes, connecting equality to our shared human origin and calling for humility, dismantling any basis whatsoever for claims of superiority based on gender or anything else.
And finally, a declaration specifically for this age. In this day the hand of divine grace hath removed all distinctions. The servants of God and his handmaidens are regarded on the same plane.
This explicitly states that in the current dispensation, this principle of equality is not just revealed, but actively established by divine grace. It makes it a hallmark of this new era and a fundamental condition for human flourishing moving forward.
So, listener, how does embracing the spiritual reality of gender equality challenge you? How does it challenge you to foster genuine partnership and dismantle remaining barriers in your personal life, your professional life, your community? It's about living that principle every day, in all interactions.
And this raises an important question. If humanity's real progress is truly contingent on the equality of men and women, what might a genuinely equitable society look like? And what active steps can we take starting now to build towards it in our own communities? How can we foster an environment where all can truly flourish, recognizing the unique and essential contributions of both men and women working together?
All right, next principle, universal education. Education is obviously crucial for personal and societal growth, but this statement emphasizes its urgency and its incredibly broad scope, extending way beyond just formal schooling.
It begins with a really powerful assertion. The promotion of education is a most urgent requirement of our time.
Urgent.
Urgent, it directly links education to national prosperity, stating, no nation can achieve prosperity unless it makes education one of its central concerns. And conversely, the primary reason for the decline of a people is lack of access to knowledge.
Wow.
This highlights the profound societal consequences of educational neglect, suggesting it leads inevitably to stagnation and decline. The key takeaway here is that education isn't a luxury item. It's a fundamental prerequisite for prosperity and progress.
The scope and responsibility of education described here are equally broad. It must begin at infancy. And the primary responsibility falls squarely on parents. It is the duty of a father and mother to do their utmost to educate their children.
Do their utmost.
Yes, to refine their characters according to spiritual and moral laws, and to ensure that they are trained in the arts and sciences. This emphasizes a truly holistic education, one that includes moral and spiritual development right alongside academic and vocational skills.
And a very significant point made here is the profound role of mothers. Mothers are the first educators of humankind. They nurse their children at the breast of knowledge.
Beautiful phrase.
Isn't it? It recognizes the foundational influence of mothers in shaping future generations, laying the essential groundwork for all subsequent learning and character development.
And the responsibility extends beyond the parents.
Yes, it extends to every child. Every child must be educated. This is not a matter that can be neglected. And critically, if parents cannot afford it, the community must provide the means for the child's education.
Community responsibility.
Yes. This underlines education as a collective, not just an individual or family responsibility, ensuring no child is left behind due to economic circumstances. It's a societal obligation.
The purpose of education is also clearly defined here, and it's ambitious. Human perfection. Education should develop in every human being the desire to achieve excellence. It encourages us to become enamored of human perfection and pursue it with passion.
And this perfection isn't just academic or professional excellence, but deeply spiritual. We should aspire to spiritual distinction, to become known for the virtues of the human world, for sincerity, loyalty, service to humanity, love, and justice.
So it's about who we become.
Exactly. It's about being distinguished by our efforts to promote peace, unity, and foster learning in others. To guide people on such a path is the real task of education. This contrasts sharply with a purely academic or vocational view, doesn't it? It highlights that true education transforms character and inspires service, leading to a flourishing of the human spirit, not just a trained mind.
What are some of the concerns your friends might have about education today? And how do the ideas we've just discussed address those concerns? Maybe worries about access or quality or the purpose of education itself.
Well, if friends worry about access, you can highlight the community's shared responsibility to provide education for every single child, regardless of background. If they worry about the purpose, why are we educating kids just for jobs? You can share this broader vision that education isn't just for employment, but for developing virtues, refining character, and cultivating a lifelong desire to serve humanity, aiming for that high standard of human perfection. This broader vision offers a much more compelling reason for education beyond mere economic gain, linking it directly to character development and societal well-being.
Let's reflect on some powerful quotes related to education. It is not desirable that a man be left without knowledge or skills, for he is then but a barren tree. That stresses the vital nature of knowledge and practical skills for a fulfilling and contributing life, suggesting that a lack of them leaves one unproductive, barren.
It paints a stark picture of stagnation without knowledge, emphasizing its necessity for individual and collective life. And this one, bend your minds and wills to the education of the peoples and kindreds of the earth.
Global scope.
It emphasizes the global scope and the urgency of this duty to educate everyone, everywhere. It's presented as a universal call to action.
Arts, crafts, and sciences uplift the world of being and are conducive to its exaltation. This gives us such a broad, inclusive definition of valuable knowledge and skills, doesn't it? Not limiting it to just one academic domain, but recognizing the value in diverse forms of human endeavor.
It recognizes the inherent value in diverse forms of human endeavor, whether practical or intellectual, artistic or scientific, as vital contributors to human progress and exaltation. And finally, in truth, knowledge is a veritable treasure for man and a source of glory, of bounty, of joy, of exaltation, of cheer and gladness unto him.
Knowledge as treasure and joy.
Yes, it reinforces the inherent value of knowledge itself beyond any purely utilitarian purpose, recognizing it as a source of deep joy, spiritual well-being, and true human dignity.
How does this profound vision of universal education, focused on character and service, redefine what it means to be truly educated for you, listener? And what might be your role in fostering such an education for yourself and for others around you? It certainly challenges us to think beyond just diplomas and certifications.
And this raises a really important question. If mothers are indeed the first educators of humankind, as the text states so beautifully, what support and empowerment must society provide to them, not just financially, but culturally, socially, structurally, to enable them to fulfill this pivotal role effectively in nurturing future generations towards human perfection and global well-being?
Okay, so now that we've delved into all these powerful, interconnected spiritual principles, the Force invites us to reflect on how they all come together, how they synthesize to address what is arguably the most urgent issue on everyone's mind today: universal peace.
It acknowledges right up front that much depends on governments taking practical steps. Much depends, of course, on governments to take practical steps to eliminate war. Political agreements to settle disputes and to reduce arms are essential to the pursuit of peace, as are myriad forms of international collaboration among nations. These are important, necessary measures for creating a stable world order.
But There's a but.
There's a crucial but. The source immediately cautions that no matter how important such governmental measures are, they will not lead to enduring peace if the principles discussed earlier are not established throughout the world. This is a critical distinction between temporary fixes, political arrangements, and truly lasting peace. It suggests peace has to be built from the ground up through transformed hearts and minds, not just imposed from the top down through treaties alone.
So enduring peace requires that deeper transformation.
Exactly. Enduring peace requires a transformation deeper than mere political agreements can achieve. The text then brilliantly synthesizes all the principles we've discussed, showing their absolute interconnectedness as prerequisites for true, lasting peace.
Okay, let's walk through them.
First, truth and oneness of origin. Unless people learn to investigate reality and come to realize that truth is one, will not age-old animosities continue to persist. It connects persistent conflict directly to a failure to recognize our shared origin, the fact that God trains us all through his manifestations and their common foundation of love. Peace begins with a shared understanding of reality and our place in it.
Then, oneness of religion. Only when the oneness of religion is acknowledged will religious strife cease and the light of religion illumine the path to peace. This highlights the immediate, tangible impact of understanding this principle on religious conflict, enabling true unity and cooperation to finally flourish.
And the harmony of science and religion is vital. Is it not necessary for science and religion to work in harmony, to dispel the clouds of ignorance and demonstrate the falsehood of every form of prejudice, each a mighty barrier to peace? These two powerful forces working together are presented as essential for tackling the very roots of conflict, ignorance, and prejudice.
Okay, what else?
Then there's economic justice. Can a peaceful world be built if the present inordinate disparity between the rich and the poor is not addressed in every corner of the globe? This directly connects the issue of wealth and poverty to global peace, implying that deep economic injustice is fundamentally incompatible with a truly peaceful world, because suffering in one part inevitably affects the whole body of humanity.
And the equality of men and women. And not until women are allowed to move into all spheres of human endeavor on equal footing with men will the violence that has characterized so much of history give way to peace and true prosperity. This emphasizes an often overlooked link, suggesting that the historical imbalance in gender dynamics actually perpetuates a cycle of violence, and true peace requires the full participation and influence of both sexes in all aspects of life.
Finally, universal education. Rising generations must be universally educated according to such principles, otherwise every hope for peace will be shattered. This reinforces that education grounded in these foundational spiritual principles is the bedrock for building a truly peaceful and just future. It's the essential mechanism by which these transformative ideas become ingrained in society, shaping the characters and perspectives of future generations.
So what does this all mean when we bring it together? It all seems to tie back to this one incredibly powerful quote that concludes the section. The well-being of mankind, its peace and security, are unattainable unless and until its unity is firmly established.
That's the ultimate synthesis. That quote serves as the culminating thought, doesn't it? Tying every single principle we've discussed back to the ultimate goal, the ultimate prerequisite: unity. Unity is presented as the absolute foundation upon which universal peace must be built. Without it, peace remains unattainable.
So just to recap, the core mission of this Uplifting Conversations unit that we've explored today is really to help you develop the ability to weave these profound spiritual principles into your daily dialogue naturally and with wisdom. It's about making those insights from the writings a living part of your everyday interactions, whether you're talking about current events, personal challenges, or the future of humanity. And the value of studying Abdu'l-Bahá's explanations and actually memorizing key passages from the writings, as the source emphasizes, is truly transformative in enabling this.
And it's important to remember, these principles are not just abstract concepts to be studied in isolation. They are practical tools for engagement that directly address the most pressing human concerns of our time, from conflict and injustice to economic disparity and gender inequality.
Right, they're relevant.
Extremely relevant. By internalizing and sharing these ideas, we're not just fostering intellectual understanding, we're actively contributing to spiritual growth, our own and others, and we're helping to build a foundation for a more unified and peaceful world. It's really about seeing the divine potential in every conversation and helping to unlock it.
So here's a final thought for you, listener. If a single conversation illuminated by these spiritual principles can genuinely shift a person's perspective, just imagine the cumulative power of countless such conversations happening all over the globe. How might your next conversation be an active step towards building that unified, peaceful world we've discussed today? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Ruhi Book 2, Uplifting Conversations. We've certainly covered a lot of ground today, and we really hope it's given you much to reflect on and perhaps apply in your own life and
I
conversations.
hope so.
Just a reminder, there will be one more part of this Ruhi Book 2 deep dive coming soon. That will be part 3, focusing on deepening themes, where we'll explore how to initiate and sustain these meaningful conversations in your community.
Looking forward to that one.
Me too. To stay connected, please be sure to subscribe to Baha'i Reflections wherever you get your deep dives. We genuinely love to hear your thoughts, so please do leave comments and share this deep dive with friends and family who you think might benefit from these profound insights.
Yeah, please do.
And if you're looking for even more, perhaps consider joining our membership for early or exclusive content. A huge thank you to all of you who have already become members. Your support truly makes these deep dives possible.
Thank you.
We look forward to concluding this journey of Ruhi Book 2 soon with you.